What influenced you most as a young person?
I think what influenced me most as a young person was the fact that I belonged to a very wealthy and kind of distinguished family according to how the social norms are.
Mm-hmm.
But around us, we were surrounded by poor people. I grew up in India. And I didn't want to grow up like that. I didn't want to grow up with having something and others not having it. So I think that was my biggest influence. How can we create a more equitable world? And that has influenced every action I've taken without really knowing it. When somebody asks me, I reflect on it. But yes, I would say that's been the biggest influence in my life.
What were some of your early dreams and ambitions?
I wanted to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted to be. And my family was so influential that I got admission in the law school and they told them not to let me in. And it was heartbreaking for me because I really wanted to be a lawyer. And then I did political science. I did my master's in political science because law school would not take me in, despite admitting me. But then my mother told me after I started doing this work, she said, listen, we knew that you didn't want to fight. That's how much she knew me. She said that becoming a lawyer would have put you on the opposite side of fighting. You want to bring equity. You bring it in other ways by working towards equity rather than fighting towards equity. This was a big lesson for me that, yeah, really, my parents knew so much more than me. And so I think that I wanted to be a lawyer. I think I am a lawyer in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting a cause, but from another angle.
How did you become interested in working with young people?
Well, I have always worked with the Hunger Project. I was a volunteer for the Hunger Project. And then I had my own kids. And I realized, this is again a very bizarre thing. Every night, as you know, I mentioned that I cry a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just a crier, you know. So every night when I would sing to them, because I'm a singer, after I would leave them in their beds, I would go to my room and I would cry, saying, my God, my kids' tummies are full and they're being lulled to sleep, and there are millions of young people, babies, who are not having that same fostering, and so many mothers crying because their children are sleeping hungry. I'm crying my children are sleeping full, but we're all mothers. And how do we become mothers of the world for all the children? So I think that's how my interest in youth arised. And I said, I don't want my children growing up in the inequitable world that I did. And I think that this generation is going to change it.
So tell us a bit about the mission of YES.
So the mission of YES was to put youth employment on the global agenda. It was a very simple mission, but a very difficult one, because we had to infiltrate and into enemy camps, so to speak, who didn't want to do things the way we thought they needed to be done. And the big thing is letting youth in. So UN has had all these conferences where they have youth assemblies separately. So everybody, the power brokers are meeting in one room, and the young people are meeting in another room, and they come back and they tell you what they have thought of, but it's just put aside. Nobody really cares.
Right.
Because people are afraid of youth. And the fear is that, oh my God, what if they really had the power and they could overtake us? What would happen? I don't know, but I'm not afraid of youth. I feel that youth are the promise of today.
What is youth trade?
So youth trade is a very simple process, which is a fully looped strategy. So there's a young entrepreneur under the age of 35 who has a mission-driven product or a mission-driven company. And those products get certified youth trade. There's a fee for entry, and there's a percentage of their sales which will come to the youth trade as a company. So that's the entrepreneur. Then there's access to markets. So we have, our first market is Whole Foods. We're hoping the next one will be Nordstrom. And so these products will go into those markets. But getting an entrepreneur, getting shelf space is not enough, because we don't want them to be on sale at Nordstrom. We really want people to buy them when they are really in the marketplace, in the proper racks. So our third piece of the puzzle is youth trade consumers. And that is, we are doing it in three ways. One is through clubs. So these young people will sort of promote youth trade, tell people about it, introduce them to the products, do field trips to Nordstrom and Whole Foods. That's one angle of it. The second thing is youth trade champions. So for example, if you're having the FRED conference next year, it can become a youth trade champion conference, which means that you buy the products of young people, get the lunch catered by youth trade, and promote, put the money where we want it, because we want young entrepreneurs.
Right.
And the third is just becoming, companies becoming champions. So in the cafeterias, they have tea and they have coffee and they have chocolates and all of those things. We want people to actually, companies to buy those products and become youth trade champions. And then each and every one of us can go to a Whole Foods and buy youth trade products, because that's how we'll build their business.
How do you mentor people? What does that look like?
It's actually almost all on email because I don't have really real time to sit and mentor anyone. My biggest mentoring is about stop thinking, take action.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about scarcity, think about abundance. Getting people off whatever is stopping them, because so often it's so easy to get discouraged. The statistics are so discouraging. And the whole thing, oh, will Whole Foods accept me? My packaging is not good enough. My product has not come in on time. So I just tell everyone, relax. It's not the end of the world. Go in 2 months later, go in a month. So just to comfort. I think I'm a comforter. Yeah, that's a good one. Better than dreamer, I'm a comforter.
Mm-hmm.
So I comfort them because I know that they can make it. Others who are in their lives are probably criticizing them for working on their dream and not getting a good job, which all of them can get. But they are plugging in, so they need someone to foster and comfort them and encourage them. And that's all I do. And I literally do it on email because it's easier. And it's a language that they understand better, and it stays with them. They can read it anytime. A lot of people have written to me that they actually print out my emails and they read it, they keep it in their purses, and they open it and read it, because I want them to remember my message rather than to hear it and then interpret it in their own manner.
Right.
It's so open to interpretation, what your words that you use. But if you thoughtfully write, then it's something that they can carry with them. It stays.
What challenges do you think you'll face in this next phase for you personally as a leader?
I think that the number one thing that I feel about myself is that I'm not stuck to any one way of being. I can be whatever I have to be at whatever time, because the moment calls and I'm not stuck in being a certain way. So yes, a completely different kind of person led the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that person anymore because that's over for me. It's complete. It's packed. It's bracketed away. Now the kind of person I am is I want to see what are the dreams of a young person and what market can they access, because that's the biggest missing piece for me now. So I'm going to fulfill that role and find a way to do it the best I can. I can be whoever I want to be. I'm not attached to how I was or what I have done in the past. I have to see the moment is different now. Now what is needed? What is needed is finding access to markets. So that's what I'm going to drill down. So those are the three things I'm going to do. Focus on young entrepreneurs, providing them access to market. Focus on retailers and making them successful. And focus on youth trade clubs, which will make both of these successful. So it's a very wide scope of work.
Do you have any advice about leadership in the corporate sector and what leaders will need in this next phase of history into which we're entering?
I feel that corporate social responsibility is something that needs to be a little bit transformed. It's a very heavy thing to be responsible for something. And it is done in that heaviness, the corporate social responsibility. I would say it should be corporate social entrepreneurship now. How can corporations be entrepreneurial themselves and foster entrepreneurship through creating markets for young people, making sure that the products are healing the planet, doing the whole quadruple bottom line that is people are talking about. And it will come through an entrepreneurial section of a corporation which is looking at how can we be socially conscious. Mm-hmm. Becoming more conscious on a daily basis about how the impact that is happening, not so much on the society or the environment or just simply any of those things, but actually of the young person who's growing up and seeing what the world is going to be like. How do you get them to have a stake? And I think corporations have a major role to play because people look up to them. As Mitt Romney said, corporations are people. So
right.
People are looking up to these corporations. How are they going to fulfill that role? I think it has to happen through leadership within the young professionals that they hire. Those young professionals can form different sort of communities around helping other young people. Mm-hmm. Peer-to-peer support would be awesome. And that's my actual advice. I'm glad you asked me this because I hadn't thought of it.
Yeah. But
that would be great if corporations could have a cadre of young professionals who would then find ways to support other youth.
So what's next for you?
I think I'm just going to keep plugging in there, keep trying to promote youth trade, get more entrepreneurs on board and be the voice. Because for all of those entrepreneurs to be heard by everybody at Fred Forum, I had to be there.
Right.
Because I was invited and I brought everyone in. So I think till everybody will come in on their own, I'll be the Pied Piper. Mm-hmm. And continue this amazing journey which I'm very fortunate to have.
What would you like to be most remembered for?
for being playful and not taking the world too seriously, and you know, really realizing that we are insignificant and yet we can accomplish so much just by the power of our dreams. So yes, I would like to be remembered as a dreamer.